Hey, good morning guys, it's Mac Motive here with MB Ministry, and today I want to talk to you about family foundations. Today happens to be Father's Day, so this is a great topic to get into. But when it comes to the foundation of anything, you want to make sure it's proper, it's placed well, and it's firm. Whenever you're building a building or starting a business, you need to make sure that the foundation of everything that you're building on top of is laid perfectly. I was looking back at ancient Egypt and I looked at how Pharaoh Ramesses II was building the empire. They focused very specifically on the blocks, on how properly it was placed and how it built upon each other. If there was any interference with how the blocks were placed or how the designs were carved out, it would compromise the whole entire structure for the empire. Now, when we come to talking about families, we also need to understand that in a family, there needs to be a foundation. And I know we look at the Bible and it always says man is the head of the household. I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe the other day, and he was saying that, look, the man is the bottom of the household because he's the foundation. It's laid upon him. And that's why when it comes to Father's Day, it's very important to even talk to other fathers and talk about how it's so important to make sure you're setting the right foundation for the family. If you're dealing with an addiction or in lust or in sin or astray like I have been, this is going to compromise the foundation of your family. This is going to separate, divide. Satan wants division, God wants unity. I want us to bring back the family so that we can build it on a great, strategic, hard, firm, rooted foundation. Let's get into it. Now, some of you guys are watching, you're like, great, Mac, I totally agree. I want to work on the foundation, want to build and lay the foundation for my family to grow. But where do I start? Now, the thing I look at when I talk about these things is I go back to Genesis 1:26, because Genesis 1:26 says that God made man in his image and likeness. He gave man power and dominion, basically to work the land. You see, the funny thing is, Eve didn't come into play right away. It was first Adam, and he was the only person on earth. When God first made man, he first made Adam in his image and likeness. Okay, he gave him power and dominion. He put him in the garden. That was the first thing he did, the Garden of Eden. The second thing he did was filled him with the presence of God. Now, the Garden of Eden actually means in the Hebrew language, presence of God, like gateway to heaven. I'm getting this from Dr. Miles Monroe. I was listening to a video he spoke about the other day. So a lot of this information is from him. And the cool thing is, when God put Adam in his presence, that was the first thing he did. He didn't give him a wife right away. He didn't give him a job right away, but he made sure he was in the presence of God first. Made sure that he had a relationship with the King. Made sure that he knew who he was and that he was special and that he was created in the image of God. The second thing he did was he gave him work. Now, the work that he gave him, Adam wasn't getting paid a $5 an hour paycheck, okay? He didn't have to check in, he didn't have a clock, but he had a mission. Predestined work, predestined obligation, predestined mission that Adam had inside. So when I talk about predestined work, I'm talking about something you're called to do. God doesn't make a thing unless he has use for the thing he makes. God made Adam for a specific reason. Christ came down, God came down as man, as Christ, for a specific reason. You see, you were made for a specific reason, but sometimes we get distracted by our 9-to-5 or our part-time job. And sometimes these things distract us from what we're actually called to do. Now, what you're called to do is different from what you're paid to do, because what you're paid to do, you can get fired from. You don't always have to get paid for it, and you don't always have to work there. The difference about when you're called to do something, it's basically who you are. You can't get fired because you're a producer. That's your nature. To produce, to create, to evolve, and to give. It's in every man's nature to do these things, and that's why I want to talk about this, because when it comes to the foundation of your family, you're the biggest provider. You're making sure that your family gets the education, the knowledge, the inspiration, the wisdom of God. If they're not getting these things, then they're spiritually drained. And they're walking depleted. I've seen families that live in big mansions, live in beautiful towns, but they're separated. They're divided. And I've also seen families that live in the poorest of areas, but have the greatest bond. They know Christ, they know God, they know their strength. Why is it that so many families are dealing with drug addiction, depression, anxiety, and fear? Why is it that we are so close but so separated and apart? When we come to family dinners and events, everyone's on their phone, everyone's in their own head, in their own world. Why is it that we are so apart these days? It's because the sickness of all nations stem from the lack of family. The family is the foundation of a nation, and it's also the foundation that God has laid for us to prosper. As men, we have a responsibility to be the foundation of our family. I go through Washington, D.C., and I look at the beautiful towers and the beautiful buildings, and I say, wow, somebody had to lay the foundation for this nation to grow upon. Well, it's our responsibility to lay the foundation for our family to prosper upon. And when it comes to that, you first need to figure out, what is your work? What is your objective? What is your mission? What is your calling? I'm not talking about the paycheck job. I'm not talking about the job at McDonald's. I'm not talking about the job in the army. I'm talking about, what is your calling? What is your mission? What are you here to do? Because everyone's here to do something. I'm here to do something. You're here to do something. We're here to do something. And God's so divine that He already knows the specific placement of all this amazement. But it first requires you to be in the presence of God. That's the first thing God gave to Adam. He gave him the relationship, the connection. And then He put him into the garden. And then He gave him work. God gave him work. Man didn't give him work. God gave him work. So what is the work that God's given you? If you figure that out right now, I can guarantee your family's already going to be laid on a stronger foundation. The thing was that Eve came after Adam already had a mission. After Adam already had a priority. Then Eve came to help him. But if you have a wife and you don't have a mission, what can she help you do? That's my question to you. Let's get this going.